Good evening. I'm Jim Zirin, and you are watching The Digital Age. Tonight, we have a very special show for you about terrorism, public safety, and gun violence, issues that have absorbed the national consciousness, and indeed issues that are central in the current mayoral campaign, even though that campaign has hardly gotten off the ground. With us is a special guest. We're very much honored to have Raymond W. Kelly, who is the 40th Police Commissioner of the City of New York, and who is in a position to help us understand these issues unlike anybody else. Ray, we're honored and delighted to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Jim.
Let's start with terrorism. Now, we had Boston, we had the attack in England in Woolwich, we had the attack in the Paris suburbs. These are low-level attacks, nothing on the scale of 9/11, but absolutely deadly and brutal. Is there something going on where we're seeing a new face of terrorism?
Well, we think in general the terrorist threat has not abated. It's pretty consistent, certainly, since 9/11. But it's clear that this country's efforts in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and other locations has diminished core al-Qaeda's ability to conduct major attacks. Hasn't eliminated, but it certainly has reduced. So sort of in response to that, al-Qaeda leadership has put out the word to do what you can, if you will. Use any means that you can to attack us, attack the infidels. And that's sort of what you see in the manifestation of the attack in Boston, and as you said, outside of Paris and outside of London, or actually in London. It is this low-level effort. Now, it's interesting to point out that in 2011, Samir Khan and Anwar Awlaki, two Americans who were in Yemen, published a online magazine called Inspire. And it's very well done, and it's still being published, by the way, even though both of them have been killed as a result of drone strikes. And in there, it had these very basic formulas: how to build a bomb in your kitchen of your mom, which was the title of one of the articles, which was seen to be somewhat humorous at the time. Well, in fact, it's very deadly. And that is the formula that was used by the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, by other people in attempted attacks here in New York. And we believe that we're going to see these types of attacks continue in some way, shape, or form, not only in this country, but in other countries. So the terrorist threat still very much out there, very much with us, has changed somewhat because the capacity to do a major event has been lessened, but certainly not eliminated, as I say. But the lower level events, we believe we're going to continue to see.
Now, can someone without training actually make a bomb based on a recipe on the internet? I mean, I could get the recipe for souffle from the best restaurant in New York. That doesn't mean I could make it. You need some training, isn't that right?
Not really. In the case of bomb making, and we have a case right now that is about to go to trial, so I don't want to say too much about it, but we actually filmed a person using the magazine to put together bombs, 3 bombs by the numbers, and he did a very effective job. After we made the arrests, we made a facsimile of the bombs that he made, went out, blew it up, and it worked very, very well. So yes, it is easy to do, and the genie is out of the bottle, and that's the danger that we face in this world today.
Now, here in New York City, we've had 16 plots since 9/11, 16 plots since you've been in office, and we've thwarted all of them. What do you attribute that to? Luck or something else?
Some of it is luck, no question about it. Faisal Shahzad, who drove into Times Square May 1st, 2010, and tried to detonate a bomb, he wasn't on anybody's radar screen. It's luck. It's a combination of good work on the part of the FBI, our federal partners, and the NYPD. We'll take luck anytime, by the way. But you're right. They've all been thwarted, but as has been said many times, they only have to be right once. We have to be right all the time in being able to stop them.
Now, Judy Miller, in an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, argued that had the Boston attack occurred here, they would have been thwarted because we have so many more facilities than Boston. Can you comment on that?
I really, I couldn't say that to be the case. I think it's somewhat presumptuous of us to say that. A lone wolf or two people together, very, very difficult to spot. And again, in a similar situation, I'm not certain if we would have gotten information from the federal authorities as to the warning that was given as far as government of Russia calling or notifying the FBI. If we had that warning, it depends. It depends on what these individuals were engaged in. It seems to me that they probably would not have been under constant surveillance, but I don't know. That's only speculation. So, I think the danger of a lone wolf attack is real, and it's difficult to identify.
And it's difficult to identify because there isn't much traffic between them and their handlers that you can identify.
Yeah, in many ways, if you're talking about a major plot, you have a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
Communication in some way, shape, or form. So far, it appears that that's not the case with the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston.
Now, you referred to Inspire, which is an online terrorist publication, and I think there was a recent report that the CIA hacked into Inspire and made several of the pages blank and then put in substitute pages. Is the NYPD also monitoring Inspire and to see what's going on online?
Well, we certainly read it, no question about it. And it's a moving target because they continue to move the site that it's published from. So it's just not that easy to hack into or to stop its publication. But I commend the CIA for doing that. But the most recent edition of the magazine is out there now.
Now, we have a larger police force than Boston. We have this ring of steel, of cameras, many more surveillance cameras than they have in Boston. We have many more facilities at our disposal. And you have a counterterrorism unit in the police department that is certainly unmatched anywhere in the country. And we spend more money on counterterrorism than any other police force. I mean, wouldn't that give us a leg up in identifying these plots and stopping them before they get going?
Hopefully, that's precisely what we're doing it. But as you said, we've had 16 plots here. This is where, unfortunately, the terrorists want to come. As we've said, terrorism is theater. New York is a big stage. This is where they want to come to get world notoriety. So we believe, and certainly Mayor Bloomberg believes, that we had to invest in the things that we're doing to protect the city from a terrorist attack. There's no question about it that it costs money. The federal government has been very helpful to us in that regard. But we have to continue to do what we're doing because New York is the #1 terrorist target in the country. Boston and other mid-level cities, I think now are, quite frankly, in play. Because they're not dumb people that we're dealing with. They saw the sort of the level of disruption and the amount of notoriety throughout the world that was given to this event, and so I think we have to have our guard up throughout America.
But New York remains in the crosshairs.
Yes.
Now, you have called terrorists like the Tsarnaevs an example of individual jihad. And they did, the older one, Tamerlan, did go to Russia, and that was certainly a very suspicious happening as to whom he saw there and what training he may have received. But it's really difficult to detect because they don't have to travel anywhere to get trained and to select a target and decide what they're going to do.
You're precisely right, because there's so much available now on the internet. We see individuals radicalizing themselves, if you will, as a result of films or websites or just obtaining information over the internet. So the world has changed. We said at one time the internet is the new Afghanistan. Well, you can just move Afghanistan out of the equation now. You can just sit in your den and receive all of this information. And for a certain number of young people, this is enough to radicalize them and make them want to kill innocent people in their own country.
Now we have this interesting company, Phantom Fireworks, from whom the Tsarnaevs purchased blasting powder or explosives, or converted them from fireworks into the pressure cooker bomb.
Right.
And we saw the same thing with the Times Square bomber, who also purchased the explosives he used from Phantom Fireworks. He really thought he'd attract attention if he bought too much, and so fortunately he didn't buy enough to do any damage that was significant. But are you in touch with companies like this to try to heighten their awareness that terrorists may buy blasting powder as an implement for a bomb?
Yes, we are, and we're talking to them. They're headquartered in Youngstown, Ohio. They've been very cooperative. They have 1,200 locations throughout the country, so it's a big operation. And what we've asked them to do is flag transactions that they think are suspicious, or give us some identifying information, be willing to call us. And they said they certainly will. And in fact, we've received some calls from them already. We sent one of our lieutenants out there to meet with them a few weeks ago, and they've been very, very cooperative. But it just kind of underscores the fact that it's easy to get material to build a bomb. The Tsarnaev brothers used fireworks powder, if you will, black powder, that all you have to do is buy enough of it and take it out of the fireworks and use it for the detonation. So, I mean, it's sort of an indicator of the wide variety of threats that exist out there.
Let's move on to another topic which I know is of interest to you, and that's stop and frisk. The lawsuit against the city, the Terry case, is under consideration at the moment by Judge Scheindlin in the federal court. What's your appraisal of stop and frisk as a law enforcement tool and a prevention of gun violence? Well,
it is integral to policing. It's done in every police jurisdiction in America and probably in the world. And basically what it says, if you see something of a suspicious nature, police officers should stop that individual, can question them, and if they feel that they're at risk, they can do a limited pat-down. Now, this is a case or a situation and a practice that's been validated by Terry versus Ohio, 1968, the Supreme Court case. Virtually every state in America has this type of authorization on its books. I don't want to say too much about this lawsuit because it's ongoing now, but the premise of the lawsuit is that the number of the racial makeup of people who are being stopped is disproportionate. In other words, more blacks are being stopped than whites and Hispanics, and that's sort of the basis of the examination. Now, what we have said in general terms is that the most meaningful indicator of who should be stopped is the description of those who commit violent crimes. There's been other proposals. It can't be census data because you'd be stopping, half the people you stop would be women. It shouldn't be arrest data because you could be biased in who you arrest. So we asked the Rand Corporation to come in, and they gave us this indicator, and that's what we believe is the most reasonable indicator to use. Now, the reality is that as far as the description given by victims of violent crime, 70 to 78%, depending on the crime you're talking about, describe the perpetrators as being black. A smaller percentage as far as Hispanic, and a much smaller percentage as far as being white. The stops that we make historically over time average about 55% black. So it at very least comports to the description of the perpetrators of
So you're understopping blacks and Hispanics? Based
yes.
on the statistics?
In terms of the description of people who commit a violent crime. So that's sort of the crux of the litigation that's going forward. Now, we submit that this is only a tool. There are many other things that we're doing to reduce crime. And crime is down in New York, record lows, is down 35% since 2001. Our murder rate is, the number of murders, that is the lowest it's been in at least 50 years. And that's when we started to measure it more accurately. Just to put it in some context, in 1990, we had a population of 7.3 million people here. We had 2,245 murders. Last year, with a population of 8.4 million, that is 2012, we had 419 murders.
Small town figures.
This year we're running at a rate 25% below that. Shootings last year were at record lows. This year, we started measuring about 20 years ago. This year, they're running 25% below that. So something is working here in New York. You know it, you can feel it, you can feel the safety in the streets. And we're just concerned that lawsuits and proposed legislation are going to radically change that. People don't remember what it was like here 20, 30, 40 years ago. This is by far the safest big city in America, and we want to keep it that way. We have the lowest murder rate by far per 100,000 of any city in America. And there are cities, even though they have much less population than we do, that have more murders than we do.
Now, you referred to the percentage of violent crimes committed by blacks and Hispanics, but there's also a large percentage of blacks and Hispanics against whom these crimes are committed, the victims of the crimes.
You're absolutely right. 96% of our shooting victims in this city are black or Hispanic. 90% of the murder victims are black or Hispanic. So that's where the crime is happening in communities of color, and that's where we believe we're saving lives. If you look at the first 11 years of the Bloomberg administration, he's in his 12th year, and you compare it to the previous 11 years, there have been 7,346 fewer murders in the Bloomberg 11 years than the 11 years before. Now, if history is any guide, that the lives that are being saved are people of color. Now, I don't want to overemphasize the importance of stop and frisk because there's many other things that we do. But we believe that if you eliminate this practice, it will cost lives. People will die as a result.
Now, you have spoken at churches in black communities, Harlem and elsewhere, and received standing ovations. So is it your sense that the black community overwhelmingly approves of stop and frisk?
Well, look, nobody wants to be stopped and have their time taken away from them. We can understand that. We have done a tremendous amount of training to see to it that when it is done, that it's done with civility, it's done with respect. And the number of complaints that we have gone way down. We have over 50% reduction in complaints associated with this. And we understand that it has to be done in a careful, measured way. And as a matter of fact, the numbers that people talk about in the stops, they translate to less than one stop a week made by a patrol officer, and only half of those stops amount to the limited pat-down. This is a practice that goes on throughout America, and one that is essential to policing and the policing function.
It makes us safer, in your view.
Oh, it's no doubt about it. It makes it safer. You just look at the numbers, and it's not the only thing we're doing.
It saves lives.
It definitely is a lifesaver.
Now, moving along again, the mayoral candidates think with all this that there ought to be another layer of monitoring and oversight of the police department, and they actually passed a bill led by Council Speaker Christine Quinn to have oversight and have an inspector general for the police department. Do you favor this proposal?
Well, no, I don't. I think we have plenty of oversight. We have 5 district attorneys in this city, unlike virtually any other city that I'm aware of. We have 2 U.S. attorneys that cover this city. We have the Mayor's Commission to Combat Police Corruption, which you are a member of, and you know how effective that organization is, how much information that's given to you, and the monitoring function that you and the panel does. And we have the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which exists only to monitor the activities of the police. So there's an awful lot of oversight in our minds. We have our own Internal Affairs Bureau and internal investigators, of which almost 1,000 in our department doing it. So We also, I think, have to be concerned of it having a chilling effect on what police officers do. More oversight. I'm not against oversight. I think we need oversight because of the tremendous power that exists in a police organization. I think we have sufficient oversight now, and additional oversight may, in fact, reduce officers' willingness to engage.
Plus the fact it's not going to be just an attorney general acting or an inspector general acting alone. It's going to be an inspector general with staff, and they'll need a budget, and it'll be quite expensive at a time when we're trying to curtail expenses.
Yeah, and I think that really hasn't been discussed, and it's sort of free form. Nobody really knows, but obviously, if this function is going to take place, you're going to need staff. You're going to need a response from the department. In other words, you need an internal bureaucratic entity to respond to the demands of the IG.
And to whom will the IG report? To you, or to the mayor, or to somebody else?
Well, I think it's planned for the mayor.
To the mayor.
Yeah.
And so there.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was one proposal out there where the IG reports to the Commissioner of Investigation, but this is still, not nailed down.
Who's appointed by the mayor. So all roads lead
Yes.
to the mayor in any
Right.
event.
Right.
Now, Ray, you've been in office, I guess, over 11 years, and we're coming to the end of your term. What do you see as your legacy? What do you see as your most significant accomplishment?
Oh, I really haven't thought about legacy. You're too much engaged in work, but I believe that the sort of installation of a very robust counterterrorism function in the department is something that will have to continue. The city is, as we said before, going to be in the crosshairs of terrorists, and that's going to happen. That's going to be the case for a long time to come. So I think that function and that entity will endure. Obviously, crime is down. We have 6,000 fewer police officers to address crime than we had 11 years ago. Yet crime is down, continues to go down. Record lows in murder. I think another significant achievement is the fact that the department, at least the police officer ranks, are now majority minority, and that we have members in our department born in 88 countries. In the last 7 police academy classes of 1,000 or more recruits, we've had recruits born in 50 or more countries. So it reflects the tremendous diversity of the department, and we weren't always like that. Even though New York was a very diverse city, the department wasn't diverse. Now we very much reflect the city's diversity. So I think that some of the things, we've certainly moved into the technological age. We've created a real-time crime center. We've had thousands of cameras that have been installed in key locations, as you mentioned. We're putting handheld devices with police officers so they have more real-time information on the street. So there's been a lot of changes, and hopefully that impetus will continue.
Now, you've built up a marvelous record. You have a 75% approval rating, according to the polls, which is higher than any other public official in New York City. The NYPD is a 70% approval rating. As you come to the end of what may be your term in office, do you have any plans at all for the future?
Not really. I don't really have plans at this juncture, but I'll have to develop them.
Well, I know you will. Ray, I have a question for you, and the question is, the candidates want to curtail stop and frisk. They want to appoint an IG for the NYPD. Is that going to make us more safe or less safe?
Well, I don't think it's going to make us more safe. Whether or not it makes us less safe, I guess we have to see. The proof is in the pudding. But I don't think it's a move in the right direction, in my judgment. A lot of good things have happened here. They continue to happen. Real estate prices have soared. Businesses are coming in from all over. Neighborhoods in the outer boroughs are stronger than ever. Neighborhoods that you wouldn't think possible 20 years ago are just flourishing. Most of that is a result of the foundation of public safety. And I think movements in the direction you're talking about certainly have the potential of undermining that. And that has a lot of people concerned, no question about it. The business community is very much concerned in the city about a movement back to the old days. And nobody wants that. And I think the people who are putting this forward, they're well-meaning. But many of them are, young people who just don't remember the bad old days. And I think we could live to regret it if, in fact, some of these things go forward.
No moving back to the old days. Ray Kelly, this has been just marvelous.
Jim,
thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming by. Tune in next week for more on the digital age. Please visit our website at www.digitalage.org. For the Digital Age, I'm Jim Zirin. Good night and all the best.